The house on Newbury Street in Boston's Back Bay had always been a sanctuary of whispers, where the air held the delicate perfume of rosin powder mingling with the earthy tang of aged spruce and maple, the faint, lingering sweetness of Daniel's pipe tobacco curling like a ghost through the rooms even years after he'd set it down for the last time. But for the past 3 years, that air had thickened into something heavier, a shroud of grief that clung to every surface, settling like fine dust on the strings of the unfinished Guadagnini violin that lay cracked and forsaken on his workbench in the basement, its belly split open as if in silent agony. A testament to the night he died in the sterile hush of Mass General's ICU at precisely 3:17 a.m. on a rain-lashed Tuesday in March 2022, his calloused fingers that had coaxed life from wood and catgut for decades, still intertwined with mine as the monitors emitted their final, indifferent wail, the flat line stretching into eternity while a young nurse in scrubs, her eyes red-rimmed behind her mask, murmured apologies that dissolved into the beeps and the downpour outside the window. I am Eleanor Voss, Nora to the handful of souls who still recall me as the poised first-chair violinist in the Boston Symphony Orchestra from 1972 to 1998, when my hands were not just instruments but miracles, insured for $2 million by Lloyd's of London against the cruel arithmetic of accident or age, and now, at 74, those same hands tremble uncontrollably when I attempt to pour a simple cup of chamomile tea in the mornings, the steam rising like unanswered prayers, for arthritis has settled into my joints like an uninvited guest, but it is the sorrow, the vast, echoing sorrow of losing Daniel, that truly bends my fingers into claws, making every movement a reminder of what was played and what was silenced forever. We had bought this 4-story brownstone in 1976 with the giddy recklessness of our first substantial paychecks, Daniel's from restoring a rare 1715 Guarneri del Gesù for a collector in Newport, mine from a season of sold-out Brahms concerts at Symphony Hall, the place a crumbling beauty with warped oak floors that sang underfoot and leaded glass windows that fractured the afternoon light into rainbows across the walls. It was here, in this creaking embrace of history, that we raised no children of our flesh, our marriage childless by choice, a deliberate duet rather than a cacophony, but instead, we nurtured instruments, hundreds upon hundreds of them, from humble student fiddles bought for pennies at estate sales in Dorchester to masterpieces that whispered of courts and cathedrals, each one cradled in the basement workshop like a newborn, Daniel's steady hands planing the backs to perfect resonance, my bow testing the strings for that elusive, heartbreaking purity of tone. The workshop was our nursery, alive with the scent of hide glue bubbling on a hot plate and the rhythmic scrape of and paper on ebony, the attic, our vault of memories, stacked with cases yellowed by time, letters from patrons tucked into F-holes, and the quiet ghosts of performances long faded into program notes. Daniel would often say, in those golden evenings when the sun dipped behind the Charles River and painted the room in amber, that violins were not mere wood and wire but vessels for the unsaid, carriers of the griefs and joys we couldn't voice, and I believed him, for in his presence, every note I drew felt like a confession, every silence a shared breath. But grief, that relentless composer, had rewritten our score when Daniel was taken, leaving me adrift in a house that echoed with absence, the clocks ticking too loudly, the mirrors reflecting a woman whose eyes had dimmed like varnish under neglect. The days blurred into a monochrome routine, mornings spent dusting the workshop benches, afternoons wandering the public garden where the swan boats glided like forgotten dreams, evenings alone with a single candle and Beethoven's late quartet spinning on the old Victrola, their dissonances mirroring the ache in my chest. Friends called less often, widows like me know how grief repels, how it turns conversation to ash, and the symphony board sent polite invitations to galas I declined, unable to bear the sight of younger players wielding bows with the vigor I once possessed. It was in this fragile solitude that Ava arrived, unannounced on a humid June afternoon in 2022, her sleek black SUV double-parked outside, rain pattering on the roof like impatient fingers as she hauled in a ring light taller than herself, a tangle of extension cords, and a fiancé named Theo who lounged against the doorframe in a silk shirt unbuttoned to his navel, scrolling his phone while murmuring about blockchain and digital provenance. Ava Voslux, 29, Daniel's granddaughter from his brief first marriage to a cellist who'd fled to Vienna when Ava was 3, burst into my life like a fortissimo chord, her energy a whirlwind of ambition and artifice, declaring with a hug that smelled of vanilla latte and ambition that the algorithm was brutal these days, that she just needed a quiet corner in Graham's vintage vibe house to film her string or sell TikTok series, flipping thrift store instruments for views and cash. 6 months, tops, promise on Daniel's memory. 6 months stretched into 912 days, a calendar of quiet encroachments that I watched unfold with the numb resignation of a performer past her prime, rent never mentioned in the flurry of her lease on life, gratitude as elusive as a perfect fifth in a detuned orchestra. She called me Graham, the word clipped and casual, like a stage cue rather than an endearment, treating me as a background prop in her meticulously lit vertical videos, her laughter ringing through the halls at odd hours while I lay awake in the master bedroom, the sheets cold on Daniel's side. Ava transformed Daniel's sacred workshop into a neon-lit studio, the scarred wooden benches now draped in seamless paper backdrops, LED strips pulsing in sync with her intro music, a synthesized harpsichord riff that grated against the memory of his gentle humming over glue pots, and his beloved china cabinet, filled with porcelain figurines of Paganini and Corelli, became a prop shelf for unboxing hauls of warped ukuleles and silent guitars bought for pennies at flea markets in Austin. Theo, with his perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and talk of minting virtual violins as NFTs, lounged on the velvet settee in the parlor, sketching digital sketches on his tablet while Ava filmed, her voice a practiced lilt. Besties, today's flip is this dusty old cello, total boomer relic, but watch me turn it into Coachella glam. I would retreat to the kitchen, hands clasped around a mug of chamomile that had long gone cold, listening to the bass thrum through the floorboards, wondering if Daniel's ghost could hear it from wherever musicians go. At first, I tried to bridge the chasm, to weave her into the fragile tapestry of my days with the tentative threads of family. I offered her Daniel's 1943 two-root bow, its ebony frog worn smooth from his grip, the horsehair still whispering of wartime concerts in bombed-out halls. She glanced at it under the ring light, her perfectly arched brows furrowing, and dismissed it as vintage dead. Graham, carbon fibers where the views are, lightweight and flexy for the gram. I cooked his osso buco one Sunday, the marrow bones slow roasted until they yielded like secrets, the sauce rich with gremolata and the memory of our first anniversary in Tuscany, plating it with risotto that steamed like hope. She poked at it with a fork, nose wrinkling under her highlighter glow, declaring it keto sabotage before excusing herself to film a carnivore challenge video, her laughter echoing as she devoured ribeyes under the studio lights. I even mentioned the attic once, early in her stay, when I caught her eyeing the pull-down stairs with that appraiser's gleam, saying up there was full of old junk, Evelyn's old trunks from her nursing days, some sheet music yellowed as autumn leaves, a few pieces from the collection Daniel had squirreled away, but she waved it off as my prop graveyard now. Graham, don't touch, you'll break a hip on the stairs, and I can't afford the drama. And so I let the intrusions accumulate like rosin dust on the mantle, let her heels click up those attic stairs at 2 a.m. when the city slept, let her phone flashlight sweep the moats into ethereal halos while she whispered to Theo about reverb flips and vintage flex for the timeline, let her confidence swell like a poorly tuned string vibrating against its neighbors until the dissonance became unbearable, until the day she DM'd me a blurry photo from the attic gloom, the violin half buried under a moth-eaten shawl that had once wrapped Daniel's favorite Guarneri, its top plate edged with a fake crack I'd scribed myself, bridge dusted with rosin from my last practice, label faded but legible, Stradivarius 1721, and asked if she could donate the crusty fiddle unless I wanted it back, her emoji a winking face that twisted like a knife. I waited 15 minutes in the kitchen, hands shaking over the cold rim of my chamomile mug, the tea long steeped to bitterness, staring at the screen as if it held Daniel's verdict, before typing back that Daniel had hated it anyway, the tone too mournful for his ear, donate away darling, less dust for me to sweep, and hit send with a finger that felt foreign, heavy with the weight of what was to come, while inside my chest the old fermata held, breath suspended, and I was already dialing. Marco Rossi, Daniel's old friend from the MI6 art recovery days, now 78 and puttering in a vineyard in Tuscany, his voice crackling over the line like parchment under a bough, confirming the micro RFID tag embedded in the tailpiece of the decoy, #1721SV07, was live and pinging steadily toward the Reverb Live auction house in Cambridge, the signal strong as a downbow on gut strings. The violin in the attic had been a perfect forgery, crafted by Daniel in 2019 for $1,400 from Luca Moretti, a reclusive luthier in Cremona whose hands bore the scars of generations, its varnish layered to the exact hue of burnt honey under Cremonese sun, the scroll carved with the subtle asymmetry of a lover's sigh, the F-holes flaring just so to catch the light like eyes in shadow, but it was only a shadow of the real 1721 Stradivarius, IL Cremonese copy, serial 1721 SV07. Acquired in 1968 for $18,000 from a starving Juilliard prodigy who pawned it for a month's rent in a Greenwich Village walk-up, and the true instrument rested safe in a climate-controlled vault at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, on indefinite loan under my name since 2021. Its appraisal climbing to $9.2 million after a Sotheby's London sale shattered records for golden period strads, whispers from the auction rooms reaching me like distant applause. Daniel's last words to me, 6 weeks before the stroke felled him like a tree in a quiet forest, had been murmured over a half-finished rosin recipe, his breath warm against my ear. Let anyone who ever tries to steal our music take the decoy, Nora, let the silence do the talking. For in silence lies the truest crescendo, the space where the soul hears what the bow cannot play. At precisely 11 a.m. on that overcast Wednesday, with the Charles River shrouded in fog beyond the convention center windows, Ava's reverb booth glowed like a false dawn under custom violin-shaped LED lights that cast elongated shadows across the carpeted floor. 3.4 million live viewers tuned in from bedrooms and boardrooms worldwide to her String or Cell series, where she restored thrift store instruments with epoxy glue and glitter spray, turning a $20 banjo into festival folk chic for a quick $1,000 flip, and she held up the cracked Strad with a theatrical laugh that echoed off the high ceilings, calling it total boomer core, besties, like something Graham dug out of her crypt, starting the bid at $500 with a flourish of her carbon fiber bow, watching the numbers climb in green digits, 800, 1,200, 2,000, 5,000, as the chat scrolled an A. Frenzy of emojis and caps lock hysteria. Girl, that's a Stradivarius face screaming in fear. Check the label. $5K already? That's a 9 million piece homie. AVA just robbed her grandma. Live LMAO. Hashtag family fiddle drama. The energy building like a rising arpeggio until the bid hit 8.7 million from an anonymous bidder in Hong Kong. Ava's face flushing with triumph, her free hand flipping her honey blonde hair for the camera as she bowed an exaggerated air solo, whispering to the lens that this heirloom was about to fund her first gallery show, until suddenly the double doors at the far end of the hall burst open with the authority of a conductor's downbeat, and 10 agents from the FBI's Cultural Property Unit poured in like a storm of black windbreakers and glinting badges, their vests emblazoned with yellow letters that screamed federal agent across the fluorescent glare, clearing gawking dealers with firm elbows while Agent Lena Kim, 42, a former violinist with the National Symphony whose own Strad had been stolen in a 2015 heist, took point, her handheld RFID scanner already humming as she zeroed in on the booth, the device beeping a shrill confirmation of the serial match to the stolen item reported by Eleanor Voss in 2021, her voice cutting through the chaos like a perfect trill. Ava Vosslux, step away from the instrument immediately, hands visible. This is registered stolen cultural property under the National Stolen Property Act, Interpol Red Notice active. The booth fell into stunned silence, bids frozen on the overhead screen at 8.7,200,000, Ava's phone propped on its tripod capturing the pandemonium in unflinching 4K as the chat detonated into biblical frenzy. FBI? This is Oscar-worthy. Graham set her up with a fake Strad skull. Hashtag Grammarbenge. Hashtag Ava Arrest trending #1. By Viral Virtuoso, Ava stammering in a voice that cracked like cheap varnish. Stolen? From who? This is family stuff. Graham said it was trash. Check the DMs. It's a misunderstanding. But Agent Kim was already reciting the Miranda rights with the clipped precision of a metronome at quarter note, the scanner's green light sealing her fate as the stream glitched to black for a heartbeat before resuming in chaotic portrait mode. Viewer count spiking to 2.4 million as hashtag Grammarbenge rocketed to #1 worldwide. Memes spawning in real time, photoshopped images of me in concert black wielding a bow like a sword, Ava as a cartoon cat. Burglar with a fiddle case marked $. By noon, the fog had lifted slightly over the river, casting a pallid light through the kitchen windows where I sat with my cold chamomile tea, hands wrapped around the mug as if it were Daniel's palm again, the ceramic warm against the chill that had seeped into my bones since the monitors fell silent. When the front door slammed with the fury of a slammed piano lid, and Ava stormed in, her ankle monitor blinking like a faulty firefly on her slender leg, her once immaculate silk dress torn at the hem from the scuffle at the auction hall. Theo vanished into the ether of unanswered calls, her manager's text burning on her screen that all brand deals were paused indefinitely pending investigation, her face a mask of smeared highlighter and raw betrayal as she screamed, "Graham, what the hell did you do to me? You set me up like some mark in your dusty old shop," and I didn't look up from the table, my voice soft as a pianissimo, asking what did you do, darling, before sliding the manila folder across the scarred oak surface, its contents spilling slightly, photos clipped from security cams at other widows' homes, screenshots of Reverb listings with geotags matching her content shoots, bank wires traced through Cayman shells showing $312,000 in laundered sales from 5 other victims, Mrs. Klein's 1752 Guarneri del Bisu vanishing after Ava's Violin Vanity tour in Beacon Hill, Mr. Chen's 1840 Violin Quartet bow lifted during a bow basics video in Chinatown, each theft a thread in the web she'd spun under the guise of helpful hauls. She snatched the folder, pages fanning like a discordant chord, her eyes widening at the Discord logs to String Ghost 88, the hidden GoPro feeds from my own workshop save, the Tor browser history on my Wi-Fi router that Marco had mirrored remotely, and when the doorbell rang sharp as a call Legno strike, the FBI agents, Kim leading with warrant in hand, swept through like a string section in full cry, finding in the workshop 41 stolen instruments nestled in cases like sleeping infants, a concealed GoPro lens trained on the combination lock during her prop unboxings, a burner phone tucked in her ring light bag with texts to the fence in Amsterdam, Agent Kim pausing amid the chaos to nod at me with a respect that pierced the grief, saying your decoy gave us the probable cause we chased for 14 months, Mrs. Voss, it's not just a violin, it's a symphony of justice for every widow she fleeced. Ava's last words as they cuffed her, voice breaking like a frayed string, were that I'd destroyed her life, Graham, for a stupid broken fiddle, and I closed the door softly behind them, the latch clicking like the final rest in a score, whispering to the empty air that no, darling, your greed did, the silence now thicker, heavier, but somehow cleaner, as if the house could finally breathe without the neon hum. Court convened 6 weeks later under a December sky heavy with snow that fell like unshed tears on the courthouse steps in downtown Boston, Ava shuffling into the federal courtroom in an orange jumpsuit that clashed grotesquely with her faded spray tan, her once lustrous hair pulled into a hasty ponytail, the gallery packed with horology buffs in tweed who'd heard whispers of the Strad scandal, true crime podcasters lip-tweeting from the back row, local reporters from the Globe sketching quick portraits for the arts page, and me taking the stand in my 1985 black concert gown of silk that still draped my frame like a second skin, the fabric whispering against the wood as I raised my right hand and swore on a Bible whose pages smelled faintly of dust and devotion. The prosecutor, a sharp-featured woman named Elena Vasquez with a voice like a cello's low register, approached with measured steps, asking if I had given Ava permission to remove the violin from the premises, and I testified no, not in any meaningful sense, that her DM that Wednesday morning at 9:03 had been the bait I allowed her to swallow, replying yes to the auction with full knowledge it was the decoy, my voice steady despite the tremor and my hands hidden in my lap, explaining how Daniel had taught me to watch and wait like a fermata in a slow movement, holding the note until the composer released it, letting the silence build the tension that greed could not withstand. Vasquez pressed on the other victims, and I described the patterns Marco had uncovered, the content shoots that masked midnight lifts, Mrs. Klein and her Beacon Hill brownstone, tearfully recounting how Ava's Violin Vanity video had left her Guarneri's case empty by dawn, Mr. Chen's Violin Bao gone after a Bao Basics tutorial that filmed the safe under the guise of lighting tests, and when cross-examination came, Ava's public defender, a harried man with sweat beading on his brow, accused me of resentment, of planting the fake to evict her from my shrine. I met his eyes with Daniel's quiet steel, saying I pitied her, not hated, for she saw our home as an ATM for her fleeting fame, not the vault of a life's labor, the forgery commissioned in 2019 as insurance against exactly this betrayal, and when Ava leaped up screaming from the defense table that I was a liar, That I'd hated her since day one, ruined her brand, her future, her everything for a stupid broken fiddle that wasn't even real. The judge's gavel cracked like thunder, order in the court, but the jury had seen, their faces etched with the sorrow of recognition, returning guilty on 71 counts of grand larceny, wire fraud, elder exploitation, and conspiracy after 4 hours of deliberation that felt like an eternity of adagios. Sentence: 14 years at FMC Devons, no parole for the first 7, 4.1 million in restitution to be paid from whatever digital ashes her empire left, Ava's sobs echoing as marshals led her away, her final glare a fractured chord of rage and regret that lingered in the air like a dissonant seventh. In the quiet aftermath, as winter yielded to a tentative spring that painted the Back Bay in hesitant greens, the real Stradivarius, Il Cremonese, sold anonymously through Christie's Geneva for $9.2 million to a consortium of Japanese musicians who vowed to tour it through orphanages worldwide, the proceeds seeding the Eleanor Voss Ludier Scholarship, $150,000 annually for girls in foster care scattered across New England, funding apprenticeships in Cremona, tools for tiny hands that trembled like mine once did, lessons in planing backs to resonance and voicing plates to sing, a legacy that bloomed where grief had barren soil. The workshop, once a tomb of unfinished work, transformed into a free music school under the auspices of the gardener, its benches now alive with the scuffle of small feet and the tentative scrapes of learner bows, children from Roxbury and Dorchester filing in after school to play on student violins I built from scraps of spruce salvaged from Daniel's rejects, their laughter a counterpoint to the silence he left, high notes piercing the low hum of sorrow that had settled in my bones. I taught when I could, my arthritic fingers demonstrating the proper angle for a bridge fitting, the way to rosinate a bow without waste, telling stories of Daniel's hands on the Guadagnini, how he'd hum Offenbach while gluing cracks, his eyes distant with the music only he heard, and in those moments, the house breathed again, the air lighter, the ghosts less lonely. Ava wrote from Devon 6 months in, her letter smudged with what might have been tears or prison ink, confessing that she hears silence now in the cell block's clamor and it's louder than any stream, that she envied the music I guarded, that her flips were frantic attempts to fill the void Daniel's first marriage left in her, but I don't reply, for some notes can't be answered with words, only felt in the vibration of strings long after the bow lifts. Instead, I pin the letter to the workshop wall beside Daniel's unfinished Guadagnini, a fragile bridge between betrayal and forgiveness. Every evening, as the sun dips behind the river and the city lights flicker on like hesitant stars, I climb the attic stairs, slowly, one creak at a time, and sit with the real Strad in my lap, its curves familiar as Daniel's shoulder, drawing the bow across a single open G string, letting one pure note linger in the dust-moated air like his hand in mine that final night, like love that never flatlines into silence, like the music that waits patiently in the space between heartbeats for someone. Quiet enough, broken enough, to finally hear it, to let it fill the vast, aching hall of a life half played.